And without skipping a beat, Noah says, I love my job. And so I followed up. I said, what is it that the Four Seasons is doing that would make you say to me, I love my job? And without skipping a beat, Noah said, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and ask me how I'm doing, if there's anything that I need to do my job better. He said, not just my manager, any manager. And then he said something magical. He says, I also work at Caesar's palace. And at Caesar's palace, the managers are trying to make sure we're doing everything right. They catch us when we do things wrong. He says, when I go to work there, I like to keep my head under the radar and just get through the day so I can get my paycheck. He says, here at the Four Seasons, I feel I can be myself. Same person. Entirely different experience from the customer who will engage with Noah. So we in leadership are always criticizing the people. We're always saying we got to. The reality is, it's not the people, it's the leadership. If we create the right environment, we will get people like Noah at the Four Seasons. If we create the wrong environment, we will get people like Noah at Caesar's palace. It's not the people. And yet we're so quick to hire. If your kids are struggling, we don't say, you got to see at school, you're up for adoption.
They graduate school and they get a job.
Performance problems at work, why is it that our instinct is to say, you're out?
That you get nothing for coming.
We do not practice.
By the way, you can't.
What does empathy look like? Here's the lack of empathy. This is normal in our business world. You walk into someone's office, someone walks into our office and says, your numbers have been down for the third quarter in a row.
Good at showing people.
How inspired do you think that person is to come to work the next day?
Right?
Here's what empathy looks like.
Everybody sounds tough.
You walk into someone's office, someone walks into your office and says, your numbers are down for the third quarter in a row.
And so when the more senior people say, what should we do? They sound like, this is what you got to do.
We all have performance issues. Maybe someone's kid is sick. Maybe they're having problems in their marriage. Maybe one of their parents is dying.
So you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem.
Of course it will affect performance at work. Empathy is being concerned about the human being, not just their output.
Now let's add in technology.
And we have to practice empathy. And one of the groups that we are pretty bad at practicing empathy with is our young millennials. So let me show you what empathy looks like. Listening to understand, trying to understand someone's point of view and disposition.
So you send out 10 texts.
Or the meetings that I have. Raise their hand and ask about the is unleadable.
My Instagram is growing slower.
Apparently, every single company in every single industry. And so now it's at the point where companies have given up and are now just asking millennials, what do you want?
Feels good.
We want free food and bean bags.
That makes us feel good.
And so now every company has free food and bean bags, and guess what? Nothing has changed. How do we practice empathy with someone we don't understand? How do we practice empathy with an organization or a group that we're struggling with?
Which is the equivalent of opening up.
So we have to understand that it breaks down to four things.
By the way, this adolescence thing, if it gets you down.
I've broken it down into parenting.
But that's basically what's
technology,
happening. That's basically what's happening.
Impatience,
right? That's basically what happening.
And environment.
An entire generation that has
Let's
access
talk about
to
parenting first.
Numbing.
Too many millennials have grown up
as they're going through the high stress
subject to what has been described as a failed parenting strategy. Too many of them were told as they were growing up that they were special. Just because they want it. They got medals for coming in last. They got participation medals. Right? And the science on this is already good. We know that it devalues the feeling that somebody who works hard and comes in first place, and it actually makes the person who comes in last embarrassed because they know they don't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse. It actually doesn't help. There are a lot of kids who got into honors classes, not but because their parents complained, and they got A's not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents.
For the rest of their lives,
right?
When they suffer significant stress,
then those kids graduate and they start a job, and in an instant they find out that they're not special, that you don't get anything just because you want it.
What's happening is
you get nothing for coming in last, and your parents cannot help you get a promotion.
Basically, it's becoming hardwired.
And in an instant, their entire self-image is completely shattered. In an instant, the way they view themselves has completely changed, turned on its head.
Their words, not mine.
And so what you find is that there's an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. Remember, they have grown up in an Instagram